Okay, so what are we going to do today? Why do we have leftover Wet n Wild large eyeshadow brush container? Why do we have the small eyeshadow brush container plastic? And of course the smoky liner brush little plastic. So what I've decided to do instead is to throw these away, we are going to make something out of them. So first, let's go ahead and I will show you what we are going to make. So first, take your paper out and you are left with this. Now it will open up like this. So we can put something in there. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I'm going to work with watercolor. Watercolor is a thicker paper. So you're going to cut it across. It's going to be 1.5 inches from the top to the bottom. It needs to be 7 inches long. So since we're doing watercolor, we need to use our Ranger Archival ink. So let's go ahead and get that out. And these were the stamps I decided to use. They came from a UK crafting magazine. And I've decided to do the little bird on one side and the swan on the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and stamp that bird first. And let's actually take both of them off first. Now for the swan. And this one does come with his own little lily pad. If you wanted to, you could cut that off or just not put the ink on that part. So let's go ahead and start stamping. I'm going to use a medium block that I happen to have. And the paper I am using is cold pressed bees paper. And let's do that cute little bird first. Make sure he's evenly coated. Press down and wiggle a little. Okay, breathe on it. Now some of his tail will be off, but that's okay with me. And press down and hold it. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then up. It's a pretty good impression. And we're going to have one going the other direction. Actually, let's put one down here so it looks like he's flying off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And up. So we get the tail end of him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's just do one that's kind of diagonally. And press it down. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lift up. Now because this side will need to dry, we are going to flip it around. And we're going to stamp the swan on the other side. Let's put our stamps away when we're done with them. And I'm just going to leave the lily pad hanging over so that it doesn't get much ink or no ink. Now let's move it up a little. Okay. And actually, I'm just going to cut off that lily pad because I do want it to be separate. Boom. We can put the lily pad right there. Okay. Get the ink on. And this one, let's go ahead and change the orientation of it. Let's move it this direction. And we'll just make a line of them. And one more here. I feel like those look pretty good. If you wanted to put more on or less, you could, or you could do the tail end of one, but I'm just going to leave it at 3. Let's go and flip it back over. Take our swan off. Now let's go ahead and we're just going to apply a little bit of heat just to make sure this is dry how we want it to. And I would just use your heat gun. And I would maybe just like count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the last one. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then turn it around, get the other side. Oops. And then flip it around. Woo. And don't burn yourself. And then put your heat tool away. Okay. Now on these little birdies, I just want to leave them like they're just flying in the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my any watercolor brushes that you have, but I'm going to use my Colorettes. And I'm going to have the background just be a lovely blue color. A light blue. Just going to gently brush that on. We are going to skip some places because we want this bird to have some clouds in there with him. Just go up and down. Fill it in how you want it. Want to fill in the, okay. And to pretend there's a cloud there. So I'm going to bring it down here. And we're just going to color it in and fill it in how we would like it. I feel like the flow on these markers, on these brush pens, is really pretty good. It's enjoyable. Excuse the sound, please. Let's fill that in. And if this is too, if you feel like this takes too long, then you could always use a different marker, or you could use brushes. Because it's your artwork, it's entirely up to you. If you wanted to add some water to this to make it quicker, dilute the color, you can do that also. And I think the rest, this end one, I'm just going to fill it in all the way here. And the same thing up at the top. Just going to fill that in so it looks well covered there, especially at the tip. Going to make it go around. And then later on, you can color in the birds, or you can leave them plain. It's up to you. I'm going to make the cloud go up here a little. And I find that round circular motions help it to look a little bit more natural. And I do kind of like some of the edges being a little bit more refined and done. Okay, so I'm going to show you the other way to do it. We can go ahead and flip it around, and the swans are just blue. So let's go ahead and take a darker color of our Color It Blue, and just for the water, okay, I'm going to take this color and then just take a flat brush and get it wet. And then you take your Color It marker and just put little waves in there just to drop that color in. Put a little bit on the bottom there. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take our flat brush. I'm just using a Lua Cornell wash brush. See, it's nice and flat and wet. We're just going to pull that down and move it around. And we want to leave it alone around the swan, because it's creating that wonderful flow of water where it is wider around the swan. And just kind of push into the paper slightly and just keep re-dipping and getting it wet. And I think a better technique next time would be to just get this wet and then drop the color in. Okay, we're getting that color moved around. If we want to, we could put a little bit up in the sky so we don't waste it. Okay. The little swirlies up in the sky. We've got a little bit on this one, which we don't want. And do I have a paper towel? I don't have a paper towel, but I have a little scratch of paper. So I'm going to push that in and see if that will absorb it for me. That is slightly better. Okay. And then you will let that dry. And that will look pretty nice. Let's actually see if we can get a little bit more color at that end one. Looks a little bit too light. Just drop the water in there. Drop the water in there. Okay. Now we're going to go in with that marker. And we're just tapping it. Just tap it. Just tap the color in. Just tap, tap, tap that color in. Ever so gently. Okay. And that does look better. And there you will have your bookmark. Let me show you one that I've already finished so you can get an idea of what they look like. Now this one, on this side, I used alcohol marker, which I don't think was the best option. That's how it looks if you color it in. And then the other side, I used the watercolor and just blended it in really nicely. Like that. So probably going to keep that side like that. And then later on we will come in and we will put some more color on those birds. You know, how about let's just, I don't think that this color of bird exists, but let's go ahead and use our coloreds again. And let's have them be like orange and red. Okay, so we're going to put the orange underneath, and we're just going to slap it on. We're not doing anything fancy here. We're just slapping a little bit of that orange color on. It's not supposed to cover all the spots. So slap that on. Leave some spaces. And then put some orange on that end tail. Same thing right here. Put some orange there. And some orange here. Now we're going to get that red. The deep red, like the deep true red wine color. We're just going to wiggle that. Yep, that's nice. Wiggle that right on there like that. We don't have to color every little piece. Leave some of it spare. I'm going to do the same to this one. Just color it in. And around the head, I would just leave that plain and just wiggle it. Just wiggle it around a little bit. Okay. We're going to do the same on the last one here. Remember, just wiggle it around the head. And then let's take a hot pink to do the beak with. Or actually, let's do it in, let's do it in a light orange. So we're just going to do the beak in a light orange. And so there you go. Something really easy and simple you can do with probably leftovers that you have. So don't throw these away. Keep them. Turn them into bookmarks. And I hope you enjoyed this. And this one still has to dry a little bit. Some beautiful swans. But thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day. And as always, please be kind. And I mean, you are kind. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.